On this episode, we break down the 15-year-old Brazilian phenom throwing 95
and momentum to glute load.
Brent Porcio, David Ardsma here, the @TopVelocity, hashtag Pitching Tips Show, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, musically, @TopVelocity, hashtag Pitching Tips, baseball tips, catching tips.
A lot of people go on musically.
I got it on there. I've been putting a little bit on there. It's popular. I just haven't done enough on it. I should. Well, you want to get on it now?
I get on everything. Yeah, check me out, the Ep283, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, the Bullpen with DA podcast coming out. We had Brent on this week. It was awesome.
And James just said, or was that you or James said that?
James.
James said that mine was the second most popular to Zach Wheeler.
And that's
I didn't even know you had Zach Wheeler.
That's over the entire time. So that's you've only been on for 3 days, 4 days.
When did you have Zach Wheeler on there?
Like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, maybe longer.
You know, I haven't beat him yet.
And he's already beaten him.
Help me beat Zach Wheeler. Go to the Bullpen with DA and share it with everybody, and then make me the most
iTunes, SoundCloud, Twitter. Check us out on Facebook. Email us. I'm
gonna post the link to mine right here. Go watch it and share it everywhere.
Believe it, brother. And then send me, if you got any questions, send it to Brent on Snapchat. I'm on Snapchat now, so send me any questions, any analysis I can do. I can help out with what I'm going through, what my process is. Check it out.
Cool, let's get started. We got a question for today. Sleepy asks, video analysis of Eric Pardinho. 95, 94, I don't know. MLB says 94. Yeah, it's pretty intriguing. I've had so many people contact me today about this guy, so I decided to do a show on him. So we'll break them down, but I want David to kind of talk about his development process coming up, because this guy was a first-round draft pick. This guy was won the College World Series with Rice. So, but at the same time too, you were the opposite of what I believe this is. This is just an early bloomer, guys. This is a guy who is matured very young. I'm looking at him thinking 18, like. Doesn't look like a 15-year-old to me, so I'm thinking more like 18-year-old throwing 94. Still incredibly impressive. We'll talk about how impressive it is, but I don't think this is a 105, 110 mile an hour guy just because he's throwing at 15 years old. So that's just me. Let's see what David has to say.
I don't want to take anything away from him. 94, that's pretty damn impressive. He was sitting we were kind of watching 90, 92. That's still pretty damn impressive. But he looks like he's like an 18-year-old kid. He looks like, I don't know if there's a whole lot more room to grow. I don't know. Obviously, got to know more about his family, height-wise, if he's going to get any taller. He looks really mature, man. He looks pretty thick. He looks pretty solid kid. Mechanics look really good. He seems to have a really good hip to shoulder separation. Really gets really far back. So it seems like he's doing everything's right at the right time, and he's matured a lot faster than most kids. What I would say at that age when I was throwing, man, I was touching maybe 85. But for me, I was always somebody that was constantly increasing, constantly getting better. There was never this point where I just spiked or plateaued until I was, in my 20s, early to mid 20s. And so I was always a gainer every year. When I was 17, I would say I was hitting 90, maybe touching a little higher than 90. Like 17 by spring, my junior year, I was definitely touching 90 pretty consistently. So, I was probably touching 92 maybe then. But I just seemed like if I saw this kid, I'd be like, dang, man, he's pretty dang good, but where can he go from here?
Yeah, and they're going to expect a lot of this guy, unfortunately, which is going to be hard on him, which, I think it's just hard on a kid at that young, throwing that hard when they know there's now so much expectations on him. I mean, could you imagine the pressure on this kid, specifically coming from where he's coming from?
Well, the problem, yeah, that's the thing is, like, you're doing so great at such a young age, like, you're going to constantly expect that, constantly expect more, because if he's 95 right now, if he's touched 95, I know it says 94 on the WBC website. If he touched 94, they're going to expect gains, because if he stays at 94, for a team to draft him, they're there's nothing there. They already know his ceiling. You're drafting guys, or he's not going to get drafted. He's going to get signed as a free agent, but he, you know, as long as he stays healthy and stays the same speed, he will get signed. But they're projecting, and if he's already hit at that point, and he's 18 and he's still hitting the same speed, they're not going to project him as much because they know he was basically matured. And there was a lot of kids I played with around that age that were way better than everybody else at that age. I mean, it was just incredibly better. I remember one kid, actually, to say a name, Nick Rudden. He was freshman year at my high school. To be a freshman and play on varsity was a huge deal. Only 3 people at that time had ever done it. And he was one of the guys, and he was amazing, but he never got better all 4 years of high school. He was the same kid his senior year as he was his freshman year. And he ended up going playing a little ball in Michigan, but that was it, man. He was done because he never increased. Everybody else, once they caught up to him, and they already have all the hard work, the work ethic behind them because they've always had it, they've always needed it. They just kind of jumped past them.
Yeah, we had a kid in my high school, same thing, and like his confidence by senior year was shot because everyone kept getting better and he wasn't getting better, so it just really brought him down. I mean, it was really hard on his confidence. So that's the interesting thing here. Let's just see, you know, we don't have a side view.
Is that
pretty much
the video we got?
Yeah, and it'll look better on the screen. It's not great resolution, but the one thing here is, yeah, we can't see from a side view, but we did see that one Twitter, I put it on my Twitter page, check it out, where he's got really great hip to shoulder separation. So, and how does he get there? Let's just talk about how he gets there. So, you know, I like the kid. Good leg lift. Look, he's got the Julio Urias move here with extending the front leg. We're seeing a lot of guys extend this front leg. Okay, and then
keeping torsion pretty well.
Yeah, and holding the load. I would just say at this point he's not really a driver. There is a drive. I believe any movement going forward, there is somewhat of a drive, just not much of a drive. As he opens up into front foot, I think he just has good momentum at this point. It's hard to see. Obviously, we don't have a side view, and he's riding that momentum. And there is some push off the rubber, not a crazy amount. I mean, you just see the ankle kind of extend right there. And then he hits front foot at this point, and then look how far the hips are open, or almost open.
His hip is almost completely open. His elbow is right here, and that's pretty remarkable. I mean, I wish right now I could do that. If I could do that, I'd be sitting at 95.
Right so now. Look at that. I mean, that's an unbelievable hip shoulder separation. But at the same time, too, if I'm a kid, here's the problem, guys, and I ultimately wouldn't want this kid to watch this. But here's the problem, guys, is like 15 years old, you know, I wonder where his growth plates are. I would assume their growth plates are still somewhat open. And the body, specifically the joints, they tend to be more mobile when your growth plates are open because we're built that way to prevent injury. It's like when you look at a little baby, they're like Gumby. I mean, you can bend them all over the place. You can throw them. They're built to bounce. I mean, they're very buoyant.
Throw your kids around, bouncing?
No, you do. But the point is this is going to go away, guys. Unfortunately, at 15, you know, that's insane mobility strictly because he's so young. Like, he's going to lose that, unfortunately. So, you know, when he loses that, he still can pick up, though. I said his back leg drive wasn't that significant. So if he can pick up his back leg drive as he loses this mobility here, which is unbelievable, this is probably some of the best hip to shoulder separation I've seen, then he'll be able to maybe keep his speeds. But that's what's concerning me. They don't show how tall this kid is. He doesn't look that tall to me.
Yeah, he doesn't look that tall.
For a big leaguer we're talking about. But, so say he doesn't grow really tall. He looks like he's going to be a very strong kid.
Let me see.
But if he loses this mobility, that's what's going to kill him. So think about this. As he goes to 18, he loses mobility, but he gains more strength, maybe some more speed. It'll just balance it out. So what you might see is a kid at 18, like Dave and I were talking about, throwing 94, you know, 95, where he is right now. So that's the only thing concerning is, you know, I think it would be projectable if you saw this kid at 15 and he was 6'8" or 6'6", and you were like, he's going to grow to be 6'8", and he's very lean. You don't see a lot of mass, and he's throwing that hard, but you don't see that here. You see a very thick, stocky kid. I mean, that's why I said he looks like 18. He looks like a 20-year-old. And he's getting insane mobility with that size. That's when I don't feel it's as projectable. But, I mean, I hate to put this kid in this place. He's incredibly talented at his age. I mean, this is unheard of. That's why everybody's talking about it. I'm just concerned where he goes from here. So as you can see from there, he keeps good contralateral tilt as he goes into maximum external rotation. Looks like he gets a really good lay back. I can't see how far his trunk goes forward, but to release, you see it push out really well. I'm assuming he's getting some extension on his front leg. Doesn't look like completely full extension, so there you go again. As he loses mobility, as he ages, he could really pick up back leg drive, front leg drive, and it could counter the movement, maybe make it better. Who knows? Maybe this guy's an upper 90s guy one day. I hope the best for him. I hope that is his legacy, but
he said
I'm not sure.
5'9", 165 pounds.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's gonna be tough, man. Because here's the thing is, and he's 15. He should. I don't know. Most people are pretty decently grown into their bodies. I don't know. Here's the thing: he's going to have to get taller. He's going to have to get stronger to keep this. In my mind,
yeah, to keep that kind of mobility, he needs some more leverage.
To stay projectable. Unless he just somehow starts keep moving faster and faster and getting stronger. But it's impressive, man. It's awesome. It's actually really impressive to see. It's crazy to think about. We're obviously trying to think about this from a lot different standpoint.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to look back on this in 3 years, but I'm going to just classify it as this is an early developer. He's just developing early, but still, he's a very talented kid. Shoot, I mean, with that kind of speeds, he could make an impact in professional baseball.
You know, the idea is how many little leaguers at 12 and 13 do we just sit there and go, God, this guy's just throwing so much faster than everybody else. It's freaky. No, it's not touching 94, but at the same time, it's at that level you're going, God, this kid's going to be just crazy. Just he matured earlier, but we'll see. We're going to find out. That's the cool thing.
Yeah, and the big negative about the early developers is that you're kind of like the horse that's in first place. You've got to keep the lead. It's always harder to keep the lead because there's nothing motivating you because nobody's ahead of you. So he's in that place. He doesn't see any other 15-year-olds throwing harder than him. Yeah. So he's that front runner, and it's a hard place to hold, guys, as opposed to me. I was the late bloomer. You were the late bloomer. It's so much easier to motivate yourself when you're all the way in the back, right? Yeah, and you're like, look at all these people that I got to beat, and they got to push me, and I got to challenge myself. As long as you're just willing to grind it out, everybody wants to be in that place. The comeback kid. Like, that's where we love to be. That's going to be David Artsma again this year in the Bigs. He's going to be the comeback kid. But it's tough to see guys front runners like this because it's just a tough place to be. So unfortunately, I don't see a lot going for him except for the fact of where he is. He's really good where he is, and maybe he holds on to that. All right, next question.
Luke11 asks, is there any way you could do a video on momentum to glute load?
Good question, because it's something David really needs to knock out of the park this year, is that initial move out of the delivery. And guys, when I talk about momentum, it's apart from the drive. So it's really just a shift or a fall through your hips. Of course, we want to stay closed. There's all things we're trying to do to prepare ourselves for the leg drive and front foot strike. But a momentum is the initial movement. Coming out of your leg lift, any way you do it, just making sure you pick up some energy just out of your fall, just that as you're transferring your weight forward, keeping everything loaded back on the back leg. But that initial fall, I see guys, and studies show, as guys age, and it's what David's experienced, we lose a lot of our speeds, right? So something for David that becomes so important is his momentum. At the same time, too, someone like David, as he's aged, his joints aren't as mobile. They don't receive the loads as well, so the body kind of protects itself a little more. It doesn't like all those torques hitting it at front foot, so it goes, you know what, I want to slow down a little bit out of my leg lift, and that's where he is. So he's kind of in that position going, hey body, I know you don't like this, but I need to keep pushing you, But that's what we want. We want that initial fall through the hips, and a glute load is just, that's the loading on the back hip. What stabilizes that hip is the glutes. So as we hit that hip and the weight starts to push into that hip, we need to stabilize through the glute. If we stabilize through the quad, then we can be a collapser, an early rotator. So as we're falling into the back hip, we want to counter rotate the hip, but we want to start to activate the glute. Sit a little deeper, because if you sit forward, you sit on the quad, you sit a little deeper, you sit in the glute. It's just a good place to be, to get a good load, to get a deep load, get a lot of momentum, and then you've got to then shift into your quad and power out of it. What do you want to add to it? Like, what are you focusing on this year to make a big improvement in that initial movement?
Well, I always find that the hard thing for me is exactly what Brett said, is getting the glute load with the momentum. It's combining the two. If I can sit in certain positions and get out of it without a problem. I can sit here and do some of the med ball throws with my legs spread wide, drive, get really good numbers on the med ball throw, but the second I add momentum, which my speed should go up, my speed doesn't. Sometimes it goes down. And so a lot of times for me was when I add that momentum, I want to cheat it and not get the load. And so you really have to put a lot of focus on getting into that lower position to where you're actually getting that load and driving out of it. One thing I like to do is if I'm doing a med ball throw and I'm going to add that momentum to it, I'll spread my legs out and feel the position where I want to get into, where I want to drive, and then immediately go up into the momentum and go. So I'm basically teaching my body, this is where I want to be. All right, now stand up and go and get there. And if it doesn't work, I'll sit in that a little bit longer and try to feel my body move in that really low position where I have my glute loaded up, and then I'll stand up and then try to feel my body get into it. I always find a lot better consistency getting in that position or getting lower by feeling it first and then getting into it. If I just try to jump into it, my body doesn't want to get down there. It just really doesn't.
Well, the hard thing is, like with David and anyone, is that David he'll get momentum and then he misses the drive. He just kind of falls. And then when he does a good drive, he kind of just sits too long and doesn't really build a lot of momentum. It's because if you do have a lot of momentum coming out of your leg lift, now the moment that you can get, when your force vector, your ankle to knee gets linear before you drive, the moment that occurs is now even smaller because you're moving quicker. So that's the challenge. It's like, guys, we want all this great momentum. Look at guys like, Noah Syndergaard, like, even DeGrom, even though he's not driving out of that. Good early momentum. DeGrom needs more drive, though. But the same thing is, if you're trying to emulate those movements, you're going to find it so much harder to actually peak your forces. So it's the most challenging thing, but that's when we are optimized, when we can generate all this momentum, we can hit that perfect moment when the force vector gets in line, and then we peak it into front foot, and that's what we're trying to achieve. And it's very, very difficult and very, very, it's a big, I think it's one of the hardest things of the lower half. That's the skill of the lower half.
For me, like I said, get in that low position, feel how tough it is to be in that position, get out of it, and then immediately try to start and build into it. Get up and then build into it, and really feel that transition and feel where you miss it, and take the time to work on it, man. Like a lot of things we're working on this year is a lot of single leg stuff. So I could feel getting in that glute a lot more and feel it like on my back leg getting in there. We haven't done that in the past as much, so we're trying to focus on this year to try to mix it up a little bit and see how that transition has been working. I think it's been going really well. I hit a 43 on the separation throw the other day, momentum separation throw, and so that's actually a great place where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and if you want to get the sense of what more momentum means to your body, you do a step throw because you're adding more momentum. So if you want to get a sense of, hey, how would momentum help me, you add a step throw in, and then you should see your ball go up. And if it significantly goes up, then it tells you you're not getting any momentum or you're not getting any drive. And it's one thing, we heavily criticize running throws. We're just talking step throw. But most of my guys, when you get good at triple extension, or when you get good at the 3x lower half, you get to a point where you could do 2 or 3 steps and your ball speed really doesn't go up that much. No. And it's something you did a lot. It's like you do 1 or 2 steps, you'd hit 90 or 90, and then 89, 90, and then this is in drills. And then you'd go back to a single, a static position, lift and drive, and you'd be right in the same place. It's because David uses the back leg. So if you see yourself taking multiple steps and throwing, and your ball speed's way up compared to where you were in a static position, it tells you there's not enough momentum and power coming to that position. But at the same time too, it kind of gives you a sense of what it feels like, and you can kind of blend back and forth and try to put it together. But the challenges are going to be in learning the movement, momentum to drive. If you don't have a lot of mobility, it makes it even harder. And of course, the faster you go, it makes it even harder. It's really a skill. It's something you have to perfect and train. And I mean, David will tell you that. He's always working on it.
Yeah. One of the drills I loved was at the chair. The chair.
Oh, yeah, the torsion
drives.
Sitting on,
I love that because it's kind of that in-between spot, man. It's that middle part where you're taking the momentum and trying to build down into it and drive out. And that's that middle part. If you can feel that position and feel strong in that position, your body should be able to be tall and then get into that position.
That's a good way to put it. It is a middle part, because it's like there's this part that if you miss, you screws the whole thing up. It's like your momentum is the beginning, your drive is the end of the stride, and the middle's the hardest part. If you don't hit it, you don't get your drive. If you hit it, but there was no momentum there, then you didn't get a good job of connecting the two. There's this little middle part that's so hard to hit, and that's the skill in it. Is trying to. That's the moment you have all the momentum and you peak your forces into your drive.
And it's low enough and you're driving.
All right, good question. If you have a question, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Musically, at TopVelocity, hashtag pitch tips, hashtag baseball tips. Ask your question, answer on the show. Check out the DA everywhere, and also the Bullpen with DA, pretty much everywhere. You're everywhere, right?
I'm trying to be everywhere.
He's trying to be everywhere. Just get on Musically. You'll be.
This might be dinner. I'll be at home. I'll be there.
And David's heading out for a while. Yeah. We'll see him back in here again soon. So if you want to follow Dave from here on out, you better follow him on his stuff. But we'll have him back in here soon. As he keeps grinding, we'll do another grind.
Do another grind when I get back.
And you've been telling me you've been writing about the grind on Baseball Essentials.
Yeah, baseballessential.com. I've been writing a little weekly thing, the grind. I missed a couple weeks there because I've been busy being down here. But yeah, check it out. I kind of follow what I'm doing every week, how it's going for me, how I'm working mentally through it, and yeah, see my progress.
All right, cool. See you on the next episode.